Hello there, you're tuned in to 7Edition. I'm Shafiqa Razali and these are tonight's headlines. Body-mounted cameras will be introduced for enforcement personnel prone to abuse. Malaysia to work with ASEAN for long-term haze solution. And Trump orders new Iran sanctions after Saudi attack. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. Malaysia will push its Southeast Asian neighbours to strengthen cooperation in finding a long-term solution for the haze across the region resulting from Indonesia's forest fires. Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change Minister Yeo Bee Yin today said that she will have a teleconference with the ASEAN Secretary General to put forward Malaysia's views and hopes so that there will be a more effective mechanism to tackle the problem. The minister said that other initiatives such as cloud seeding and a proposed law to punish Malaysian firms causing fires overseas would fall short of solving the problem without international cooperation to overcome the transboundary haze. It was the third cloud seeding operation over the peninsula since Monday, which brought torrential rain, but only short-term relief as smoke continues to blow in from Indonesia. Cloud seeding operations will be done tomorrow in Kuching and Sri Aman in an attempt to ease the haze. The operation will also focus on areas with very unhealthy air quality, namely in areas around Samarahan, Sarike and Kapit. According to the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, the operation is scheduled to start at around 12 p.m. with a C-130 Royal Malaysian Air Force aircraft and will be done based on the atmosphere, the weather and cloud conditions in the affected areas. In a bid to effectively combat corruption in the civil service, the Prime Minister announced that body-mounted cameras will be introduced for enforcement personnel prone to abuse. The government will also install closed-circuit television or CCTVs at strategic locations, including police lockups, where abuses are regularly alleged.
Yeah, not everybody, but we are policemen, for example, certain custom people and immigration people, so that we will know with whom they are speaking. And of course, if they try to shut off, we will also know.
When will this be applied, the body cam?
As soon as we have the money.
The move comes as complaints of corruption at some government agencies persist, while others were faced with problems such as lack of manpower in dealing with matters like transboundary crime. The Prime Minister also said that last year alone, the government lost between 3 and 5 billion ringgit due to leakages at the country's borders.
Meanwhile, the government will also impose new conditions that will limit direct tenders to only exceptional cases. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad today explained that for such cases, the Finance Ministry will have to give the nod.
Direct nego. This comes when something is essential for certain purpose only. For example, in the armed forces, they may identify the particular equipment, and if only that particular equipment comes only from one company, then they can have direct nego, but they must state the reason why they want to have direct nego, and they have to get the permission of Kementerian Keuangan. Other cases, of course, is for open tender or limited tender.
The move builds on other anti-corruption measures the government has planned for the near future in its bid to rid the civil service of corruption. The Prime Minister was also asked about a viral letter on a 450 million ringgit construction project in Kota Baru, Kelantan, which was allegedly awarded through direct negotiation.
Because it's been viral, so you see the notes that I wrote, that this is a continuation of a project that has been given to this party, whether it was by direct nego or whatever, but this is a new one. So what I said there was that if this company is willing to reduce the cost, and if it is a continuation of the previous project, I think we should be, it's not direct nego.
He was speaking to the media after chairing the 10th Special Cabinet Committee on Anti-Corruption in Putrajaya today.
The Communications and Multimedia MCMC Minister Gobind Singh Deo is waiting for the full report on the data breach involving the personal details of Lion Air and Malindo Air passengers. He said the ministry had been informed of the data breach exposing nearly 30 million passengers' personal details.
Maklumat tersebut ada dalam pengetahuan kita dan saya telah pun minta untuk satu laporan diberikan kepada saya. Dan saya akan tunggu laporan tersebut sebelum saya membuat sebarang komen. Kerana saya rasa adalah penting untuk saya meneliti semua fakta sebelum saya membuat satu kenyataan berkenaan dengan perkara tersebut. Khususnya dalam keadaan di mana perkara tersebut dalam siasatan pada masa sekarang.
There was no set deadline, but the minister hopes to receive it as soon as it is a very important matter and many are concerned over the issue of security. Gobind was asked by the media over reports of massive data breach since last month involving the airlines. The breach resulted in personal data of millions of passengers' information, including passport details, home addresses and phone numbers being leaked through online data exchange forums. Yesterday, Malindo Air Chief Executive Officer Chandran Ramamurthy confirmed the leak, and the airline was in the midst of carrying out an investigation and had already contacted the MCMC. At the same time, efforts are underway to identify the source of a data leak after it was revealed on Monday that almost 20,000 radiological studies cases in Malaysia may have been exposed. Its Minister, Dato Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad, said after meeting with the MCMC and the National Cyber Security Agency, NACSA, this morning, steps were being taken to contain the breach, including mapping the exposure risk and the continuous improvement of security features and levels of IT infrastructure at all healthcare facilities. It was also revealed that over 24 million patients' medical records in 51 other countries were also leaked online, as well as hundreds of millions of images such as computer tomography scans, magnetic resonance imaging scans and X-rays. The 1 million ringgit corruption trial involving former Federal Territories Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Adnan Tengku Mansor has been postponed. The postponement was due to a notice of motion filed by the defence to recuse Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali from presiding the case. Lawyer Datuk Tan Hock Chuan, representing Datuk Sri Tengku Adnan, told the court that the notice was filed yesterday out of concern that the former minister may not be getting a fair trial from the judge. This is in view of the guilty plea by businessman Datuk Tan Eng Boon, 71, last Tuesday on an alternative charge of abetting Tengku Adnan in receiving the 1 million ringgit bribe. He said the defence also learned from media reports that Datuk Tan agreed to testify as a prosecution witness. The judge then fixed tomorrow to hear the notice and gave until 3 p.m. today for the prosecution to file in the affidavit. Datuk Tan, as director of a property development company, claimed trial to giving a bribe to Datuk Sri Tengku Adnan as gratification for approving an application by his company to increase the plot ratio in regards to a development project on Jalan Semara. Datuk Sri Tengku Adnan is charged with receiving 1 million ringgit from Datuk Tan through a public bank cheque belonging to Pekan Dinas Industri Sendirian Berhad that was deposited into his CIMB bank account. On August 9th this year, the Kuala Lumpur High Court allowed the prosecution's application for the corruption cases involving Datuk Tan and Datuk Sri Tengku Adnan to be tried jointly. Meanwhile, in Perak, some 77,000 pairs of counterfeit sandals, valued at a total of more than 600,000 ringgit, were seized by the Perak Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry during a raid at the Bengkalan 2 industrial area. The sandals were meant for sale locally as well as for export to neighbouring countries, particularly Indonesia and Thailand. The premise owners, both in their 40s, were detained for further investigation. In Kelantan, 5 men, including a juvenile, were charged at the Pasir Putih Magistrates Court with the murder of a man early this month. No plea was recorded and all of the accused faced the death penalty if found guilty for murder. They were accused of murdering Muhammad Aiman Suwaidi Samsudin, aged 26, on September 2nd at Sungai Kampung Puyu, Cerang Ruku in Pasir Putih. A labourer was sentenced to 2 years jail by the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court for molesting a 12-year-old girl. The accused, Cik Rahim Awang, 57, pleaded guilty when the charges were read before Judge Noria Osman. The accused, who is also the victim's father's friend, molested the girl at the time that her family members were not at home. Cik Rahim was charged under the Sexual Offences Against Children Act 2017. When we return, dozens of civilians dead after airstrike hits eastern Afghanistan. This and more after the break. Stay tuned. We're back with foreign news. At least 30 civilians were killed and 40 injured in an airstrike conducted by the Afghan security forces backed by US air support in eastern Afghanistan. Officials said the attack on Wednesday night was aimed at destroying a hideout used by Daesh militants. However, it accidentally targeted farmers near a field instead. An official said the drone strike killed 30 workers in a pine nut field while injuring 40 others. The Defense Ministry in Kabul confirmed the strike but refused to share casualty details. US forces were not immediately available for comment. US President Donald Trump announced that he ordered new sanctions on Iran following an attack on the Saudi Arabian oil facilities, while Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called the attack an act of war. Trump stopped short, saying he wanted to wait for a final intelligence report. It was not clear if Trump's sanctions announcement signaled that the report was completed or whether it determined Iran's culpability. There are no details on to whom or which sectors the sanctions would apply. White House, Treasury and State Department spokespeople did not immediately offer details. Trump said on Wednesday that an announcement will be made in the next 48 hours without specifying whether it would be on sanctions or not. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau apologized on Wednesday for wearing brown face makeup to a party at a school where he taught 18 years ago. Trudeau is a fervent advocate of multiculturalism, integral to Canadian identity. Time magazine published the photograph 1 week into a federal election campaign, with Trudeau's Liberal Party in a tight contest against the Conservatives led by Andrew Scheer. The black and white photograph shows Trudeau, then 29, wearing a turban and robes, with his face, neck and hands darkened at a gala party in 2001. The picture appears in the 2000-2001 yearbook of West Point Grey Academy, a private school where Trudeau taught at the time. Trudeau himself confirmed it was him in the photo at the school's annual dinner, which had a costume theme of Arabian Nights.
I'm going to be asking Canadians to forgive me for what I did. I shouldn't have done that. I take responsibility for it. It was a dumb thing to do. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm pissed off at myself for having done it. I wish I hadn't done it, but I did it, and I apologize for it.
Trudeau, now 47, whose party won a landslide victory in 2015, has already been under attack for an ethics lapse and other controversies. Now let's head on over to Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Sexual harassment is not gender-driven and is bound to happen to anyone, making the victim feel unsafe and could even leave one with a mental trauma. On Monday, Hudzaifa Aziz tweeted a video of him being catcalled and chased by a group of aunties performing Zumba as he passed by them while jogging with his friend at Taiping Lake Gardens in Perak. The video caught the attention of Twitter Jaya citizens and has since raked in over 150,000 views. In the 20-second clip, Hudzaifa, dressed in an all-black tank top and sweatpants, was seen jogging along the running track when a group of brightly dressed women who were practicing Zumba suddenly caused a commotion. He followed up in the thread saying that the way he dressed was probably the reason why the incident happened in the first place. A Twitter user gave support to Hudzaifa and agreed that it was indeed sexual harassment, while giving thanks to him for sharing the incident, as men who do get harassed usually feel ashamed to speak up. Now others pointed out that there was nothing wrong with the way he dressed, saying that he should not listen to what people think and continue being himself. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the U.S. Central Bank cut its benchmark interest rate for the second time this year on Wednesday, and Federal Reserve Chief Jerome Powell vowed to do whatever is needed to keep the economy growing. But the Fed's policy committee is divided, with 3 of 10 voting members dissenting from the decision. Powell said policymakers do not expect a recession, but trade uncertainty is creating crosswinds that are weighing on the economy amid President Donald Trump's conflict with China. Although consumer spending remains strong, trade uncertainty is having an effect. The Fed's policy-setting Federal Open Market Committee lowered the policy interest rate by 25 basis points to a target range of 1.75 to 2.0% as expected. Bursa Malaysia continued to trend sideways at the close today on persistent selling in index-linked counters and blue-chip stocks. The FBM KLCI was 3.21 points easier at 1,596.28. An analyst said the market was volatile throughout the day, moving below the 1,600 level amid mixed performance from regional bourses as US-China trade negotiations resume today and tomorrow in Washington after 2 months. On to stocks to watch. Bank Islamic is seeking a public auction of a property in Penang belonging to Siasera Group over a sum of 18.31 million ringgit owed to the bank under an Islamic loan facility taken. Siasera Group received a legal summon and that the date of the auction had yet to be fixed, but shall not be less than 1 month from the date of the court order. Siasera said the financial impact is dependent on the final sale value of the auction against the book value of the said land. Next. Perak Transit plans to raise up to 500 million ringgit by establishing a Sukuk Murabahah program to refinance the group's bank borrowings. The money will also be used to finance its capex and working capital requirements. The program will have a tenure of 15 years from the date of the first issuance of the Sukuk. Last but not least, Telekom Malaysia Berhad's second half 2019 could see top-line weakness on lower average revenue per user from new product pricing. Better cost structures will persist, albeit at a slower scale than the first half of 2019 on backloaded operations.